Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Thank you so much for your show of love. Thank you so much for all that you do for this community to keep growing. Hope you're well in all your ways, Your Majesties, and you loving yourself and others like always. Over 30% of uranium that France consume are all from Niger. And they do these things at the detriment of the people. All right. So the coup d'etat in Niger right now is not in favor of the French government. And of course, anything that is not in favor of the French government will never be in favor of the American government and the British government, because they are working together. They are the collective West, and they are the one moving around the world, colonizing people here and there. So they are working together and pushing in this man right now to send military to Niger to, calm whatever it is that is happening there. Now, Tinubu is pushing on with his threats. I think today should be the 7th day or the 6th day, because they were given 7 days to return the power to the regional president, the one that was there before. All right. Now, today would be the 6th or 7th day of the threat. And he went on with his plan. He sent military, Nigerian army are at the border that leads Nigeria and Niger, and they are just waiting for command, so they invade Niger. And as we also speak, the neighboring countries of Niger have also sent in their military troops. So the military troops in Niger right now is not just the troops of Niger. They have military troops from Burkina Faso, they have from Mali, they have from Guinea, and some other two African countries. These are the military troops, the military troops right now in Niger. And Nigeria is there. Only them to go and fight 4-5 military troops. Is this not a death warrant? Now, there have been advice from different people telling Buhari, I said Buhari. There have been advice from different persons telling Jagaban, Tinubu not to send in, not to use military intervention. And he is insisting on using the military intervention because the West have advised him to do so. And of course, he's at the mercy of the West right now. If not, maybe they're going to expose him for what they've done for him. Now, there are reasons why this is happening. But first, I want us to listen to this one.
And the Nigerians are genuinely happy with the coup d'etat that happened in their country. If you see how they poured out on the streets in support of the coup d'etat, because they hate what France has turned their country to. They support the guys. They don't see them as ordinary coup plotters. They see them as freedom fighters. That's why they attacked French embassy today. And they have sent a serious warning to ECOWAS. Stay away from our internal affairs. Let France get out of our country for good. We don't need France here anymore. And ECOWAS, you must not interfere, or else we treat you as enemies. This was boldly said, not just by the army, but by the people, who are strongly, they're not pretending, it's not out of fear. They are boldly, joyfully saying it, that they love what has happened and that they will stand by the military coup plotters.
Following the coup in Niger and the threat of military intervention if they don't quickly relinquish power, the threat is no longer a matter of if, but a matter of when. This is because Nigerian troops are now stationed near Niger to enforce a no-fly zone over Niger. Why is Tinubu bent on military intervention in Niger? Let's see 4 main reasons why he is doing it. Number 1, out of the 4 reasons, this one might be the major motivation to invade Niger. When the country is at war and Tinubu is still fighting for legitimacy, which might still take a few months to resolve, going to war will trigger Section 135, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution, which will make him stay in power for up to 4 years. It says, if the Federation is at war in which the territory of Nigeria is physically involved and the president considers that it is not practicable to hold elections, the National Assembly may by resolution extend the period of 4 years mentioned in subsection 2 of this section from time to time, but no such extension shall exceed a period of 6 months at any one time. Many people are not paying attention. These people are desperate. They can go to great lengths to stay in power. The military intervention that is already underway with the deployment of Nigerian troops near the northern border with Niger to enforce a no-fly zone. This is an act of war. But that's not the first. The first one happened when he authorized the disconnection of electricity supply to Niger. Yes, this action is also an act of war. Despite the treaty that Nigeria signed with Niger in the 60s on the use of waterways and River Niger, and the fact that 70% of their electricity supply comes from Nigeria, you know what it means for a country to pull out of a treaty without warning. It means that country can't be trusted to abide by agreements and treaties. Although he doesn't have the power to initiate war with another country without the express approval of the National Assembly, he has already taken actions to that effect. Many might argue that boots are not yet on the ground and he doesn't need any approval from National Assembly to move troops within the country. The truth is that in order to enforce a no-fly zone over Niger, the Air Force will need to intercept aircrafts in the air within their airspace, which might result in their firing a weapon. What if someone gets hurt and they retaliate? There are more than 300 Nigerians in IDP camps in Niger Republic. Instead of finding ways to resettle these people back to their homes in Nigeria, they are actively trying to wage war in a country that is hosting 300,000 Nigerian citizens. How about solving the problems that push these Nigerians to run to Niger Republic in the first place? You can't solve your security challenges, but you want to go and fight in another man's country. Even in Abuja, the seat of power, there are people living in IDP camps. They can't resettle them to their homes, but they want to go on an adventure in another man's land. There's no single benefit for Nigeria in this their adventure. Instead, we are losing money. We don't even have the money for this kind of experiment. Nigeria is simply broke. Look at the effect of the border closure. Long lines of trucks and coaches that will normally bring revenue to customs. Niger is a poor country. Sanctioning them will impoverish their people more. Besides, many of them support the military that took over power. Look at this banner, Abat la France, which means down with France in English. So why are they crying more than the bereaved? Why the focus on Niger? This kind of attention, Mali, Burkina didn't receive them when the military took over power there. Are they aware that Russia is backing some of them? Although the Russians have denied backing Niger or even interested in what is going on, we know their antecedents. We shouldn't take their statements seriously. When they deny something, the next day they do the complete opposite. Remember what they said before the invasion of Ukraine, only to invade them a few days later. There's a reason Mali, Burkina, and Guinea have all declared support for Niger, and they are willing to put boots on the ground in case there's military intervention in Niger. Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso recently met Putin in Russia. No one knows what they discussed. Burkina and Mali have all dropped French as their official language, so there's serious resentment by their citizens against France. There is presence of Russians in Mali. Traore even eulogized Putin that they can buy whatever they want from Russia, unlike the West that gives conditions and in some cases they won't even sell to you.
Ils ne refusent rien. En fait, tout ce qu'on veut acheter, la Russie accepte nous vendre parce que ce n'est pas le cas avec d'autres pays.
I mentioned the Trans-Saharan pipeline to pipe our gas to Europe. Why should we leave Russia to do the whole thing? And
This brings us to the next reason Tinubu wants to invade Niger. Yes, for economic reasons, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline moving gas from Nigeria through Niger, Algeria, and crossing the Mediterranean to Europe will bring Nigeria's gas to Europe. But are the Nigerian military against it? They will earn money if the pipelines passes through their country. The entire region is very volatile. Very few investors will take the risk to lay gas pipelines across the restive region. That's why Morocco proposed an alternative route to Nigeria. Besides, whichever route they take to bring the gas to Europe, Russians don't like competition. The major reason they invaded Ukraine was because the huge gas reserves off the Ukrainian coast was about to be mined by oil and gas conglomerates. With the situation on ground there, no mining can take place for now. Russia, having been cut off from supplying gas to Europe, they won't allow Ukraine to do that either. Coming back to Nigeria and looking at the economic situation on ground, Nigerians urgently need more gas pipelines spread across many cities as alternative to petrol. Whether it's CNG, LNG, we need them now to sustain our economy instead of selling gas to other people. So instead of wasting money in the guise of restoring democracy in another country, why not use the money to better the lives of Nigerians who own the money in the first place?
For the total independence of Africa to start with a full force, there are 3 countries of interest that must be independent. When those 3 countries are independent, I'll give you a second to think of those 3 countries. Which are those 3 countries in Africa?
Anyway, Your
Number 1,
Majesties, I hope
Nigeria.
we've seen all that. There are always reasons why
When you
we take
see
actions,
Nigeria
and most of the time, the
independent,
things we see
when you see the West out
are
of
just the tip of
in
the iceberg
Nigeria,
of what happens.
if you see those
underneath,
Western
right?
giant companies like Totally,
Everything
Sasol,
said and done, no
Engine,
one is in
among others,
support of
out of Nigeria.
Tinubu.
When you see the British out of Nigeria, the French out of Nigeria, when you see Nigeria having a leader like Muammar Gaddafi, Africa will be independent. The second country is Democratic Republic of Congo. If you see Democratic Republic of Congo free, independent from the West, like how Mali did it, Africa will be free. The third country is South Africa. If these 3 countries become independent, then the rest of the continent is independent. And how are we going to liberate those 3 countries? Already we are independent in Mali, but how about those 3 countries? Because you find there is some sort of leaders that were made billionaires by the West. They were formed by the West. On the other side, they would like to talk about socialism and communism. But now they don't know what to do, because all of a sudden they found themselves in power. That now I'm a president. But when they check their background, they start to see that we were made billionaires by the West. And they are scared of turning their back to the West, because the West will start opening up their secrets to the world. So how can we be able to liberate those 3 countries to see a total independence of Africa? Because through the votes, what happens with the votes? The votes are manipulated by the West. The West intervenes in the electoral system of Africa. If they fail to control the system, they'll complain a lot. You hear them crying like how much they cry in Zimbabwe. Because in Zimbabwe, they are failing to control the system. They fail to control it.